Okay, as a full disclaimer here, I have been playing a lot of Mario Tennis Fever. Okay, a lot. You've seen me play this on stream. I'm in like the top 500 right now. I'm trying my best to improve my skill set and improve my rank scores and stuff like that. I've been playing a lot of online specifically, so I have neglected the single player content. So I haven't really made videos talking about like adventure mode or time trials or the tournaments. From where I'm sitting, the core of the game is the online feature. That's kind of what I'm interested in. That's what I like doing. So for me, I haven't talked about the single player features at all. And one of the defining hopes regarding this game when it came out was this idea that this game had no single player content, that it wasn't very good, that it was embarrassing, that it was cringe. And as I've slowly made my way through the single player content, it's become apparent to me that that isn't actually true. People have accused the adventure mode of being a tutorial. Yeah, no shit. For a game like this, you don't really need a lengthy adventure mode. People have tried to say that this or that could have been better. That there have been all these statements given about Tennis Fever's single player content, but the more I play it, the more I engage with it, the more I realize that none of it is actually true. The game does indeed have very good single player very good single player content. The issue maybe is that it's not as difficult as if you're playing ranked and constantly getting wrecked by other players. But when it comes to the actual single player content, it's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I enjoy. Okay, that's the reality of it. It's objectively good. It's just that you can't really make a CPU player as dynamic and engaging as a human player. Okay, so playing offline is never going to be as satisfying as playing another person. It's just that's just the reality of sports games to me, is that the CPU, it's just not capable of emulating real human behavior and developing their own strategies organically and doing stuff like that. It's not fun to play a computer that perfectly counters all of your moves, essentially. So that's the problem that these games tend to have when it comes to the single player coverage, is that the CPU just isn't as good as an actual human player, and that is something you can acknowledge and talk about, but that's not really a valid criticism, considering it's not that the single player is bad. It's more accurate to say that the online is just peak in general. That's kind of the experience you're looking for if you're playing a sports game like this. But the other thing that really bothers me about this is how the community at large really tried to go after the unlockables and the other modes in this, because the narrative initially was that oh yeah, the adventure mode isn't good, and the tournaments are over rather quickly. People were well, actually no, people didn't talk about the tournaments at all. I said that the tournaments were I kind of breezed through. Okay, so people were complaining about adventure mode, but they didn't talk about all the other modes in the game, especially the towers. Okay, one of the things people told you was that oh yeah, the towers, they're just kind of there. Oh, apparently nobody actually cleared these things, because when you do, you unlock more content. You unlock more achievements that you can do in them that more flesh out the experience and really help you hone your skills and tackle more challenges. And this is the reoccurring trend I've been noticing when it comes to game coverage, because I've been having a similar experience going through New Super Mario Bros. U. It feels as if most journalists and most YouTubers judge a game's single-player content exclusively on how long a single-player campaign is, without really looking into side content or things that other modes that the games offer. Because I didn't see anybody pre-release talking about the tournaments, which are well made, dynamic, and fun. I didn't see anyone talking about the towers. I didn't see anybody talking about the mix it up mode or any of these other things with the special rules and all that. I didn't see anybody talk about any of that. The entire narrative from Nathaniel Bandy initially was this idea that the adventure mode only lasts 4 hours, as if that's the only mode in the game. The only single player mode in the game. It's remarkable honestly. Like, how I put about, like, well, last time I checked it was 15. It's probably more like 20 now. You know, probably around 20 hours worth of time into this game. You know, really, really hooked on it since it came out. It hasn't even been a full week yet. Okay, I've been playing this so much. Like, I'm putting this much time into the game. I'm enjoying it this much. And you have the average YouTuber coming out and trying to say that, like, well, the game could have had a 20-hour campaign. And I'm just like, I can't even find the time to beat the adventure mode now because I'm having so much fun playing all these other modes. Like, to me, the adventure mode being a tutorial just kind of feels superfluous, you know? Like, it's a mode meant to be an entry-level thing for people who have never played a Mario Tennis game before. And that makes a lot of sense, considering, like, how often, you know, because you saw me doing this. Like, it's very, very difficult to really understand this game. Like, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, especially if you, like, play real tennis and you have to understand how the charge mechanic works and how to, like, bring out certain shots and, like, who's good at what and what fever racket to use. Like, it takes a while to get good at this game, I think. So, the adventure mode being a tutorial actually does make a whole lot of sense, structurally speaking. Considering the people who typically play these games and, like, the skill level, like, this makes perfect sense, honestly, to me, to have the adventure mode, like, be a tutorial and then have, like, the other single-player modes be, like, the more difficult ones. Like, I don't...
now connected to
the
Cody.
criticism that people had that the adventure mode was just a tutorial doesn't really stand as a valid criticism. And that's kind of my mentality, you know, looking at it, is that, like, I do think that the adventure mode could have been better paced. I do think it's too tutorial heavy. I think they could have made it more interesting, for sure. But at the end of the day, it still shows a lot of potential. It really shows a lot of room for growth, honestly. I think, you know, going forward, they could, like, come up with, like, some really cool ideas when it comes to, like, plot lines and stuff like that. You know, the animations in particular are gorgeous in this. But, like, I find myself, like, you know, playing this game and thinking about it, and I'm just like, you know, even if I felt that the adventure mode was too basic, the simple fact of the matter is there's so much else in this game to like that the adventure mode being underwhelming wouldn't really impact it at all. You know what I mean? But, like, the community just kind of rallied behind this idea that the adventure mode killed the entire experience, and, like, I just don't really think that's true. I just feel like there's so much, you get so much mileage out of this game with everything else it offers that, like, even if this mode wasn't all that memorable or good, like, the rest of it is so amazing that I don't really have an issue with it. And, like, I do think that we as, like, you know, Mario sports fans, why exactly are we so hung up over this idea that, like, these games need to have, like, lengthy single-player campaigns? Like, why exactly is everyone spurging out about, like, single-player content in these games? Because, like, honestly, I think Tennis Fever is, like, kind of my ideal ratio when it comes to this kind of thing. Like, I think it works perfectly fine. So, I don't understand people's mindsets when they say they want, like, Mario Tennis to have this extensive, lengthy RPG plot. Like, that doesn't really make any sense to me. Like, I think the game is just fine the way it is. I'm perfectly happy with what I'm getting out of the experience.